pumped.
We all live, but we all die.
Hold on!
Wow. Doing a review solo. I haven't done one of these in a very long time. I think the last time I did one of these reviews all by myself was, I think, maybe 2 years ago. Maybe. Okay, so I don't even know if you really want me to see reviews done by myself anymore. I don't really know. But I'm gonna try it because I wanna do reviews by myself again. Let me know how this turns out. Anyway. So The Finest Hours. Okay, so Finest Hours is, in this true story, it takes place in the early 50s. 1952 to be exact. There is talk of a huge snowstorm due in Massachusetts. The Pendleton, an oil tanker, is in the path of the storm and gets split in two. Before we get to that, we have two friends, Bernie Weber, played by Chris Pine, and Gus, are just having fun. Bernie falls in love with a young woman named Meryl Petty. When she asks him to marry him, he agrees, but before he can, he and Gus are being asked to go out and rescue the Pendleton, while the Pendleton tries to survive the best it and its crew can. Gus is too sick to go, so Bernie relies on a few Coast Guard members to help him out. It has a cast of mostly unknowns, with the exception of Chris Pine, Casey Affleck as Schubert, who works on the ship as part of the boiler room, who's being asked to be the captain of the ship now, and Eric Bana as a Coast Guard captain who watches over everything. The main problem with this movie in general is the characters. They're not interesting. They're not memorable, and on top of that, the biggest offender in this case, they're undeveloped. Mostly the main three characters. Bernie, Gus, and Meryl are all underdeveloped characters. They have little chemistry, and on top of that, I didn't care enough about them. Gus is probably the most underdeveloped because we don't get to know anything about him. We know very little about Bernie Weber, this person who saved 32 people on the Pendleton, and the romance between Bernie and Meryl are underdeveloped and uninteresting. I didn't care about the romance between these two. I didn't care about Gus. I didn't really care about the rest of the characters. I mean, you have the ship the people on the ship. You don't get to know who they are. You don't even, by the end of it, you don't really care at this point. You don't really. You watch the entire movie, and the rest of it is just kind of like you're sitting there thinking, okay, do we get to know anything about these guys? Do we get to know anything about them? No, you don't. You don't get to know a thing about them. I mean, we know Casey Affleck's character a little bit, but that's really about it. And like I said, the romance between Bernie and Meryl are undeveloped and uninteresting. It reminded me a lot of the romance, the love triangle in Pearl Harbor. It didn't work then, and it doesn't work here. The writing is okay. Like, the writing is a little cliche here and there, but not really a big distraction. It wasn't really a huge problem for me. But, with all of that said, the visual effects, the score, and the way they recreated the rescue are pretty well done. I will admit that the action scenes are really good, and the way they reconstructed the rescue is pretty good. You can almost see yourself on the edge of your seat, hoping that these people get rescued at some point. Because keep in mind, the ship is split in two. Okay, the ship is split in two. I think that the way they handled it was really good. I think that it was well made, it was well constructed, and keeps you on the edge of your seat. Especially when Bernie and his crew comes up to the ship, which has been anchored under the underneath the ocean bay. you kind of root for these people to be rescued if you somehow have an attachment to them, which I didn't. I wanted to know more about these people. I wanted to know their backstories and why they're there. I don't mind a little bit character development here and there. I just was asking for something. We didn't get that. But whole rescue operation and the journey to get to the ship is really harrowing on its own. It's very thrilling, epic, and on top of that, it kind of reminded me of A Perfect Storm a little bit. They're holding on for dear life. They're trying to survive their half of the ship the best they can, and I mean, it's kind of cool that you see all the technical things that they have to go through. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just the characters were underdeveloped, the love story was underdeveloped, the writing was a little cliche. But when you actually do come across when the rescue actually does happen, it makes the movie a little bit better than it already is. I mean, it's not perfect. I mean, it's definitely hugely flawed, but at the very least, it doesn't insult history like Pearl Harbor did. It doesn't insult the people at all. So, a movie about the greatest Coast Guard rescue of all time, I'm going to give it a 3.5-star rating. It's severely flawed, but not enough to where I can say it's a bad movie.